These are ones that I use the most often for my eyeshadow application. Hello guys and dolls, and welcome back. So today's video is going to be a review of the new Wayne Goss eye set. I've done a lot of reviews of Wayne Goss brushes in the past. If you click the little card right here, a little drop down menu will happen and it'll have all my Wayne Goss brush reviews I've done. I think I've reviewed all of them but two, and the only brush that I don't have is the one that he came out with at holiday last year. There was another one that was missing from my collection that a wonderful subscriber sent to me, and I was so overwhelmed. Like, I couldn't believe that somebody would send me their Wayne Goss brush just so that my collection was complete. Like, it was too much. I was just like, that's love, y'all. So I'm often asked, what is your favorite brush line? And for a lot of years and in a lot of ways, I still don't recommend any one company for everything. I still feel like, for instance, Wayne Goss does not have a shader brush that is my favorite. Like a flat eyeshadow brush for packing on color, they don't offer that, so I have to go somewhere else for that. But if like a friend of mine was like, okay, I want to know which brush company I can go to and expect like perfect quality, I would immediately out of my mouth would be Wayne Goss, because the quality is fantastic. They're artisanal brushes made in Japan. Takes like 20 artisans to make these. The hairs are never cut. You're getting the natural edge of the brush. They're beautifully sculpted to create these shapes. They're so incredibly soft. They make your eyeshadow blend so I'm going to overuse incredibly. Let's find a new word. They make blending a breeze, and they're just the best. My two favorite brush companies are Wayne Goss and Smith Cosmetics. That's the majority of what I have. I have a few odds and ends from a few other brands. I'm not like exclusive to these two, but they are my two favorites. So today what I'll be talking about is the new Wayne Goss brush set, which to my knowledge is replacing the previous eye set, which I'm a little bit gutted about because there really won't be any like flat shader brush in the Wayne Goss brush collection now. Like, it just won't exist. The first brush that I want to talk to you guys about is the 16. This is a very large, very pointy blending brush. So this one is going to be really great at diffusing color on the outer edge, for applying powder all over the lid as a base color over your primer. This one will also be good for like if you just need to like blend something out really quick. This would be your go-to for that. So because this has a pointed edge, this behaves quite differently than a blender that has a blunt edge, and I'm actually going to get all up in it. Now obviously I have all of my eyeshadow applied, but I'm going to show you guys what this looks like in my crease. Do you see how this follows into the contour of my crease? Even though it's a very large brush, it really follows that in, whereas something like this is going to just kind of mash the color everywhere. Like, it's not going to, even when I do kind of tuck it in there, it's still kind of splaying out further. So you're going to get a wider dispersion of color with something like this. And if that's the, if intended effect, then that's great. But for me personally, because I have hooded eyes and because I'm trying to create the illusion that my eyes are so much bigger, so I want the colors to be as concentrated to, I'm very picky basically about where my eyeshadow is placed. So for that reason, I like a brush that's more pointed when I'm doing any kind of blending. So love this. Now in terms of comparing it to the old number 16, they're really night and day. The original 16 is like a really big, I honestly didn't get a lot of use out of this brush. I would sometimes use it for concealer. I would sometimes never use it at all. It just wasn't really my favorite, so I'm not too sad to see that one go. The new 16 brush is most similar to the number 3 brush in the very original Wayne Goss line, and I adore this brush, so I'm just kind of happy to see another version of it come out. It's slightly smaller than the 3. The next brush I wanted to talk about is the number 17, and this one is like the smaller little baby cousin to the number 16. You can see they're very similar in shape. It has a slightly more rounded rather than pointed edge to it, which makes it really great for blending. With blending, sometimes you want that point to kind of give you a little more precision. And I'm gonna zoom in for you and show you what it looks like all up in my crease. So you can see this one, it will splay out a bit more compared to the other, but you're still going to get that definition in the crease. I definitely use this in my crease today. I will have a makeup tutorial for this look coming up for you guys soon. So to compare this to the original 17 brush, again, completely night and day. This is a fantastic brush, and so if this is going away, I'm very, very sad about it. The original number 17 is just one of my favorites for doing highlight and for concealer work and just for like a number of other things. I love this brush. So I really hope that Wayne will bring this one back or continues to sell this in some way. But these two brushes have literally nothing in common. They're completely night and day. This brush is most similar to the original 19 brush, which was another rounded blending brush. But as you can see, the original 19 is still rounder on top. This one is definitely more pointed by comparison. So the next brush is number 18, and I'm in love with this brush. This one is so amazing. I love brushes like this where they're sort of dome shaped, but they have a pinched ferrule. The original 18 brush is nothing like this at all. Again, we have just like, they're from two different planets. The original 18 was more of like a shader brush. This one is definitely like a fluffy blender. So for anyone who likes a really hardcore blend, like really needs to work something out, this is your brush for that. It can work in a lot of different ways. So I'm going to again zoom in, and this is silly because I'm not really applying any eyeshadow, but just work with me here. So if you want to blend something out, this is the brush to do it, but you can also blend in between colors on the lid with this by using like the side, or I like to call it the belly of the brush, because it has that pinched ferrule, so it's almost like it's two-sided. You can see this side's still clean. So a brush like this is really nice for when you're doing a look where you're going to use a few different colors, and you can kind of selectively use different parts of this brush to aid your blend in different ways. So like if you go dead on like this, you're going to diffuse color. If you go like this and kind of go side to side, you're going to get like a blend in between two colors. Compared to the original number 6 brush, it's much fluffier, much denser. The original 6 is super duper soft, but in terms of like packing on color, it really doesn't do anything for you. Whereas this one, because it's a bit denser, it'll actually give you a little bit more color impact. The number 19 is like a little teeny tiny baby blender, or like a baby crease brush, and I remember in one of Wayne's brushes talking about how he wishes they could all be crease brushes, and I feel like this collection is like truly his dream come true. And I really kind of respect that he just kind of went for it and created something he really wanted to see. I love it whenever somebody kind of goes against what the trends are and just does their own thing, and I think, you know, something really special can result from that, and that's how I feel about this collection. But anyway, moving on to the brush. Obviously completely different from the original 19, night and day, completely different brushes. This is a large sort of moppy blender. This one has a bit more snapback to it. It's a little bit denser, even though it's much smaller. This one is what I used to diffuse some of my crease color today and to apply it as well. And I love this. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. I like using this one for my deeper crease colors, for really getting that intensity. Again, we'll go ahead and do the close-up shot of what this looks like. We'll move on to this side so you can see how that follows that crease. This is the brush. If you have hooded eyes, this is the brush you need. You didn't even know you needed it, but you need it. It just gets that nice intensity of color right in there. What I like is that these brushes are really good at depositing color while also diffusing it out. So the final brush today is the number 20. So the original number 20 looked like this, which was more like a pencil style brush. This to me is sort of similar to the original number 5 brush. Do you see how they kind of have a similar shape? The new brush is definitely on the pointier side. It has a little bit more of a like a peak to it, whereas the original number 5 is a bit blunter, but they're kind of similar. The brainchild between the 5 and the original 20. This one also really works well for carving out that crease. And once more, let's zoom in. So, showing you guys, do you see how that follows? It kind of almost like tucks itself into my crease. Fantastic. And I actually want to try something else with this. I haven't used this on my lower lash line yet. I'm going to take some colors from my Alchemist palette from Kat Von D, taking Ultraviolet, and I'm going to put this on over the shadow or the liner that I have down here, just to show you guys that it's a really great brush for using underneath your lash line, because it's going to give you a diffused application, but it's not going to be like overly blown out. That looks awesome. Kind of wish I'd done that in the original look. And it holds on to the pigment well. You can see I'm just sort of blending that over, and you can see that sheen even out here. So that's a good kind of demo of how these hold color. They pick up a lot of product, but not too much. And you notice I didn't get like powder everywhere. And this is a fairly powdery product. price breakdown for these, $130 for 5 brushes works out to about 26 bucks a brush, which is pretty darn reasonable considering that these are artisanal brushes made in Japan and that they are perfect. So I totally dig this. I highly recommend these brushes to anyone. To some, this may seem really redundant, but I'm just going to give you kind of a scenario. So like this one would be the one that I would sweep on like a powder all over after using my primer. So I'd put that on all over, and then I would use this again to either use for my transitional color or to sort of blend it between my transitional and my highlight. So this would be kind of my like taking charge and blowing everything out kind of brush. So then you have the number 16. This would be the one that I'd use to apply my transitional color. I would actually apply it with this and blend it out with a larger brush. This one would also be really useful for I mean, I guess you could use these for concealer and stuff too, but I don't like using natural hair bristles for concealer. Number 18 can be used to pat color on the lid. This can also be used as your blender. So this one could be used to, you know, if you've got a little heavy-handed or if you have a shadow that's sort of like stubborn or something and really won't blend out, that's when you call this one in, because this one's denser than these others, which are going to give you a little bit more of a softer blend. This one will kind of take charge and kick ass. This one would also be really great for blending out like eyeliner on the lid and stuff, like if you're doing a smoky look. Like I was thinking of the Pat McGrath Labs liner, which is kind of like tricky to blend out on the outer edges, and this would be perfect for that. Then we have the number 19 brush. This one is for deep crease. So this is for getting that intensity of color right where you want it. This one also might be nice for like a nice like fluffed out inner corner highlight, as well as the number 20 can be used for a similar function. But see, these are kind of sort of similar, and you can still use this one, the number 20, for deep crease work as well, but this one would be too large for the bottom, so they're not completely interchangeable, and I'd probably keep this one for using on the bottom or for doing like a smoky liner or something like that, because it's a little bit blunter on the edge. But really the number 18 and the number 20 are kind of like your kick-ass, like super hardcore blenders. The number 17, the 16, and the 19 are a little bit softer and a little bit more diffused, but they also will deposit color, all of these, beautifully. They'll blend it out. It's kind of awesome. So that is my chatty review of the Wayne Goss brushes. I love these, you guys. Sad to see the old set go, if that is what's really happening. It's kind of unclear, but I have it on good authority that the previous set is being discontinued. Hopefully they'll bring it back in some way, because there's some brushes in here like, okay, I'm trying to think like what can I really... You know, honestly, the only one that I feel like I really can't live without is the original 20 and the original 17. I feel like I could let go of some of the other ones, but these are ones that I use the most often for my eyeshadow application.